And so whether it's our students doing it or our team members doing it, who are all former students, because that's how you become a wise mystery shopper, is we have the survey, for those of you that has about 70 questions on it. It's actually pretty extensive. What we're going to do for today's discussion is boil it down to the ones that are up on the board here, just to focus the conversation. And when the mystery shoppers go out, as some of you have, we're asking you to rate things 1 to 5, kind of like I do on the feedback forms. 1 fair, 1 poor, 2 fair, 3 good, 4 very good, 5 excellent. For the sake of our conversation this afternoon, we're going to go binary. You'll see why when we get done. It's kind of like, did they rock it or not? So it's just kind of, it's green or red. Those are the choices. Except when we talk about customer satisfaction, we are going to rate that on 1 to 5. I just want to review the standards, some of which we've talked about, some of which we have not yet. Is the backstage showing? We have the conversation about, is anything in the backstage showing? That could be physically, like a cluttered tasting bar, or dirty glasses, or dirty bathroom, or signage that doesn't work. It could also be verbally. It could be, is the server or any of the team members saying something in front of the guest that the guest just doesn't need to hear. It could be innocent. Hey, Johnny, when are you going on break? It could be not so innocent. And my boss, Chris, is a real, And so it could be complaining. Just the things that we would not want the guest to hear that would break the magic bubble of, okay, this performance. So that's what we're looking for. And the question is the backstage showing? Great greeting. We did talk about eye contact and a smile within 15 seconds. And we're also looking for great farewell. Thank you. We come back. Hopefully you're coming back today. And we hope to have you back again. Identify the referral source. What brought you? How did you decide to come to our winery today? That icebreaker question is really important. And when you ask it, the rest of rapport building is way easier. And so we're actually really looking specifically, did they find out what brought you into the winery today? It doesn't have to be the very first question, but hopefully it's occurring somewhere in the conversation. Do they have what we call service heart? Do they want to be of service? We can teach you wine, we can teach you sales, but we can't teach you friendly. And so, do they have service heart? And is it showing up today? Because sometimes you'll see in the mystery shopping results, it's like, it probably was a nice person, but clearly having a bad day. Well, that's, we don't want that to show up either. We are looking for both what is the wine knowledge of the server or host, winery knowledge, and also did this describe the wines in the winery with passion and enthusiasm. We want both. Because of course we want them to know their stuff, but if someone is really knowledgeable, but their delivery is just kind of like a wet rag, that's not a good idea. And vice versa, if someone's really passionate and enthusiastic and doesn't know what the heck they're talking about, that's not good either. We really want both, right? So we're looking at knowledge and we're looking at passion and enthusiasm. They don't always go together. We're looking at some of the stuff we have talked about today. Were they using any analogies? Was there any great storytelling? I'm not just saying did they tell stories, but did they tell some of those memorable stories that you would actually remember a month from now? And of course, your customer gut check as you're driving out the driveway, do you know, based on that experience, not your other outside or knowledge of a neighbor, what makes that winery brand unique because of the experience? How is that? We also are going to ask, did they actually ask open-ended questions? And great. We'll see yes or no on that. And then if they asked open-ended questions, did they then do something with the information to adjust the guest experience accordingly, to tailor it to you? Because sometimes we'll say, yeah, they're getting the open-ended questions, but it's not going anywhere. We're not getting that positive profiling, that platinum rule experience. And so where are we at on that? We haven't talked about noticing buying signals. There's some information in the workbook for you on that. What we're looking for, and if we had a video recording of Wise Mystery Shoppies out there, you'd be almost embarrassed to see it. The blatant buying signals that we give, both verbal and nonverbal. Like, oh, I really like this wine. Oh, what are a discounted price for shipping? I mean, just, they're all over the place. And nonverbal, which is like making the smiley faces and the exclamation points on the tasting notes, or, playing with the club brochure, or tapping the credit card on the counter. I mean, blatant stuff. And it would be, you would freak out to understand how often in our industry they're missed. But the cool part about it, it's a really easy thing to teach. If you go out, and I encourage you to go with your team members from your winery, I know some of you said that you've already done this, is go out and do this and give blatant buying signals, verbal and nonverbal. And if it's missed on you, you'll never miss it again. It's a really great way to drive that lesson home. He's like, how could someone not pick up on that? Because that's one of the rules in the mystery shopping. It's like, we can't actually buy unless they're asking us. And we often are missing the shots we're not taking. So we are also looking for what we call the triple score. And I did share that, which is, on one hand, we have the customer satisfaction, and we will rate that 1 to 5. And we kind of do that irrelevant of all the other business things on that list. Just take your winery hat off, your business hat off, and just as a consumer, would you recommend this to a friend? How thumbs up, how far? So we want to have great customer satisfaction. Yes, and we also want to have the business objectives, which is, did we actually ask for the order? Did we effectively sell the club? That does not mean tossing a brochure across the bar. That does not count as effectively selling the club. It's engaging with someone. It's planting seeds. It's really getting those points in. And did we invite them? Nobody likes to be sold to, but certainly we like to be invited to stay in touch. Or if we've done something to attempt to capture their contact data. That's the triple score. And then we'll wrap it with customer satisfaction. Okay, you guys are going to be, your heads are not going to be good. Do you want to just come over, bring your chairs over here? Because we're going to play off of this board. Can you guys see too, or should I go down there more? Yeah? You can see good? Okay. I mean, whatever you want, but you may just want to sit on this side. Because what we're going to do is debrief. I've got basically red X's and green checks. And here's how we're going to do. We're going to go down. And yeah, that's fine. We're going to go down and name the different ones. Again, we're only going to name the winery if it was an overall positive experience. If it was less than positive, let's just skip the name, no problem. And what I want, my first volunteer, I'm going to show you how fast this is going to go. I know you're going to want to talk about it, but what I want to get up there is red X's and green checks so we can see some patterns and then have a discussion. However, for those of you who did this, who are debriefing, I will give you, after you say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, I will then ask each of you, what is the key lesson that you took away from that mystery shop? Either committing to, oh, we got to do that at our winery, or we got to never do that at our winery. And you can learn just as strongly and just as well from both, okay? Remind me, raise of hands, who did shops? 1, 2, 3.
I did 2 shops, but I didn't fill out the form because I.
Can you do it off the top of your head? I bet you can. We'll see. Okay. 1, 2. There was some over here. 1, 2, 3. A couple. Yeah. Okay. We'll get a couple done. All right. Who wants to go first? You want to try, Kyle?
Sure.
All right. Deep end of the pool.
Yeah, definitely.
So is. That's okay.
Yeah.
So is. Do you have a positive shop in your mix that you want to share?
Yeah.
Could we share the name?
Yeah, absolutely. Longsword was not a place that I've been to yet.
All right, there she is, pumping her fist in the back. Okay, Longsword. And even positive shops might have a couple red X's. Don't worry about it. Okay. Was anything in their backstage showing?
No, there were cases on the floor, but that's part of a technique, I'm sure.
That's fine. Okay. You'll know it was if it's irritating or weird or whatever.
No,
okay.
Nothing stood out in that way.
Great greeting.
Greeting was excellent.
Awesome.
Yes or no?
Yeah, yes or no. And so, did they ask what brought you in today?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Do they have service heart?
Definitely.
Knowledge of wines and winery?
Yes.
Passion and enthusiasm? Did they actually use any analogies?
Notice.
You
also wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
So Didn't know.
So you might have missed it, but maybe not.
And I think I may have, well, no, I didn't miss a story. I think there was a story telling.
Great storytelling. You're going to remember that story a month from
No,
now?
apparently not.
Do you know what makes the Longsword brand different?
Absolutely.
Cool. What does make it different?
They produce, well, their story is rather interesting. There was a split in the company. Someone took all the wine with them, and the company stayed solid, and they had to start over. So one of the things is that what's special is that they do seem to specialize in what they have at that time. It seems like they're specializing in it because but they aren't, because they have all this other wine that's waiting to be released.
Okay.
But I guess that doesn't, I don't know. I feel like the fact that they're in the middle of this field, this little outpost of Applegate wine,
Okay.
it just felt very unique. It felt
It's your.
different.
We're not going to judge your gut. It's your gut.
Driving from the gate to the, that's how the experience starts
Yeah.
at the gate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Theirs, it's like you can see it. It's right there off the road. And they used to sell their wine out of a little shack by the side of the road.
Okay.
And now it's like, we've progressed and moved into the field.
Got it. Okay. Do they ask open-ended questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they? First of all, is it a he or she?
She.
She. Is it the she that's here?
This one.
Okay.
This one back here, yeah.
So based on, first of all, did she know you were in the industry?
She didn't.
Okay. If she asked you open-ended question, did she shift gears based on what she was learning? Like, was there something different in the experience that you noticed based on the information?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to admit it. The shift probably occurred where I mentioned that I'm not a big Chardonnay fan. From what I can find up here. Yeah, something was going to do it. Okay. Yeah.
But she shifted gears based on what she learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
She kind of was a little bit more geared towards, understanding that, well, okay, of the whites, we already got through them. We got a rosé after that,
Okay.
More focus seemed
Okay.
to be put on the reds, as she
Yeah.
mentioned something about, we only have so many of the cab left.
Okay.
And I'd heard about their cab, and that's kind of like, I've been wanting to get
Okay.
out there and try it.
So what I'm doing here on the shift for Pozzo Perla, I'm going to be pretty kind of picky on this. The point is there's lots of usually open-ended questions. And when we're talking about shifting from the positive profiling, the platinum roll, that's not kind of master's level. Okay, so it doesn't always occur. It's fine if it doesn't, but when it does, that's great. So, yay, Kate. Did you drop buying signals?
Here's the problem. I did drop buying signals.
Yes.
But it was after it had already been told, like, oh, we only have like 12, there was 16 bottles left of the cab.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be having one of those. I didn't say that, but I'm like, oh.
Did she pick up on that?
She seemed to, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Did she
Now,
actually ask you to buy one?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did she?
Because I fumbled this. I didn't, I don't feel like I did a great job.
Don't worry about it. We'll just keep going. We're almost at the end. Stick with me. Stick with me. Big guts doing someone in the room, but go ahead. Okay. Did she actually effectively pitch the club? No. Did she attempt to capture your contact data? Invite you to stay in touch? No. Okay.
These things probably would have been done if I hadn't told her before she rang me up. But I don't know. I can't say for certain.
Did he say who he was before?
Yes.
Okay.
At the
All
end,
right.
But it was while she was ringing me up, and I'm like, by the way, I really would like my industry discount.
All
I didn't
right.
say that, but that's what I was thinking. Of course, there's certain sacrifices I will make.
Okay. Was there anything in the guest experience where she, and we didn't talk about this, exceeded your expectations? We call this surprise and delight
Yes.
that you can tell in public.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kate. Okay, good. No, he's blushing. Okay, we gotta have fun with this one.
Yeah. So definitely, you already mentioned. I mean, the thing about passion. This is somebody who's been it's like they live and breathe this company. They do so much for this company. They like it's their
Okay.
life essentially to an extent.
So surprise is like, what's
So
the actual
surprise,
action?
The surprise was probably in the. I would have to say just that kind of good intimate knowledge of the product and zeal for what was being sold that I don't see as often as I would like, and
Okay.
it's just I wasn't expecting it. It just
Okay,
was like,
so it's really good service, and we've got it with Service Heart, we've got it with Knowledge and Passion. What I'm looking for in Surprise and Delight, I'm not saying, like, I understand where you're trying to go with it. What I'm looking for in Surprise and Delight is it's just an extra step. It could be that extra pour, but I don't mean the rosé that everybody gets. It's the extra pour that's based on, we were having a conversation about a specific wine, and I happen to have the library vintage, or I happen to have a vineyard desert. It's really tailored to the conversation you're having versus just that extra pour that everybody gets. Now, and what happens with Surprise and Delight, this used to be the exception 10 years ago, and now it's really the rule. Because our guests expect, well, I mean, just, it's kind of the whole experience economy, right? It's like, what can we do to kind of blow their socks off? So here's how a lot of wineries are handling it. If you know, how many wines do you guys pour for tastings? 5? Okay, 5, 6. If you know you're going to pour 5, have the menu say you're pouring 4. And then the 5th wine, have it be tailored based on the conversation. I have one wise winery partner who runs a tasting room, and he says to his team, everyone is going to get an extra pour. It's your job to figure out why that guest is going to have this wine. It's because it's your anniversary. It's because you came from the auberge. It is because the whatever, and also what the specific wine is based on the conversation. What happens is we take what we're going to do anyway, and all of a sudden now this feels special. This feels tailored. This is the platinum rule coming to life, right? Because it feels tailored to me. So it could be an extra pour. It doesn't have to be. We ask the question with mystery shoppers, what did they do to exceed your expectations? You're saying, wow, it was such great service. That's fine.
We appreciate the wine.
Yeah,
there.
that's super. I was looking for some additional steps, and we hadn't talked about this yet. It could be a concierge step. It could be helping them decide where they're going to go to next. And, oh, I know so-and-so down that winery. Can I call ahead and let them know you're coming? Can I call and make a reservation for you? Can I bring out a map and show? It's just that above and beyond steps that blow you away. I actually shared a story, kind of a freakish little story, with Bree in the car yesterday driving down here. 2 weeks or a month ago, I was at the Ritz-Carlton in Singapore. I was there for a business leadership conference. And I arrived really sick, like probably the most sick I've ever been in my life. And the conference wasn't starting for 3 days. And the housekeeper the first morning figured out how sick I was. And those guys didn't let me alone for 3 days. I mean, almost in a way it would have been uncomfortable. They were coming in and rubbing my feet, bringing me tea and lemon and honey and giving me cold compresses, and here's the sleepy drugs and here's the wakey drugs and stuff. It was insane. And but if I hadn't been so sick, it would have been weird. But I was actually really appreciative. And I don't know if that's the Ritz-Carlton hospitality or the Asian culture or both. Both. And it was just. It's the beyond expectation stuff. I'm not saying you got to go rub their feet, but you get where I'm going, right? So surprise and delight under that standards. I mean, I'll still give you the green check if you want. I'll ask Kate.
You brought up some interesting things there with what you can do pouring an extra.
Yeah.
That's out of the question for them.
Okay.
They can't. So there's certain things that they can do, and I still felt like.
That's fine. I give you greenish. That's fine.
I was there on business, and I still had a great time. So,
So, great farewell.
Yes.
Awesome. Customer satisfaction, 1 to 5. 1 poor, 2 fair, 3 good, 4 very good, 5 excellent.
4.
Okay, super. I'd like to know one lesson that you're going to take back to your winery of either what you commit to always do.
Yes. So, specifically, I went to DeWitt after that. and sorry. It got
Actually, I'm asking from this.
I know, totally different experience. And I noticed that one thing that stuck out to me was that behind the stage, the backstage thing, didn't get that impression, and it made a huge difference that I saw it very clearly at DeWitt and it was totally detracted from it.
Okay.
This is because I was focusing on the
Yeah,
details.
yeah.
And then for me, for what I do, I'm going to focus a lot more on that. I already make sure the glasses are spotless.
Yeah.
I mean, we charge 15 and 17 for a 5-line,
Yeah.
5-line flight.
Okay.
They better be spotless.
Okay, great. Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
So thank you very much, and thank you so much for Kate for letting us do
Way
this.
more than you asked for.
It's okay. So thank you very much. I want to get the rest up on the board, so we're actually going to go much more quickly in getting reds and greens up. And then, but I will also. Hey, it was good. You didn't even think you wanted to play, and you did well. Okay. Who wants to go next?
We went together, so we can.
Okay, super. So is this? Are we going to name the winery or keep them? Okay, not name. That's fine. Okay. Was there anything in the backstage showing?
Yes.
What?
Broken glass.
Ooh, okay. How was their greeting?
The greeting was good.
Great. Did they find out what brought you in today? Referral source.
I don't think so.
Okay. Did they have service heart? Did they want to be of service? Were they friendly?
I think initially.
Okay. Tell me.
Like, I got there after they did, and it was just, here's your pour, here's your pour. So they might have had a little bit of a different experience than I did. He didn't seem unfriendly or grumpy, it just,
Okay.
there was no,
So remember my standards. I'm being really picky here. In your shops, you had a thing to 1 to 5. I'm saying they rocked it or they didn't.
they did
They're
not.
not. Okay. Knowledge of wines and winery.
We got a little initial information of the winery.
Did they rock it?
No.
Passion? Did it describe it to passion and enthusiasm? No. Did they use any analogies? No. Any great storytelling you're going to remember a month from now? No. Do you know what's different about the brand? No. Did they ask you any open-ended questions?
I don't think they asked any questions.
Okay. So by definition, if there's no open-ended questions, there is no positive profiling. Because if there was profiling, that would have been prejudice or prejudgment, right? Okay. Did you drop any buying signals? No, not really. Okay. We'll just skip that. Did he actually ask you to buy wine? No. Anything effectively pitch the club? Capture contact data? No, okay. Any surprise and delight? Okay. Oh,
It took a long time to
Fair-
explain why they had a particular piece of art.
okay.
We were
So-
surprised that it was there. We couldn't figure
Wait,
it
surprise and delight. Okay. So, how was the farewell? Happy to get rid of you? Fine. Okay, good. Great. Okay. Customer satisfaction, 1 to 5. 1, 2. Okay, 2. Great.
Because of that greeting.
All right, ladies, you can answer this individually. Given that mystery shop, what's one lesson you take back to your winery to commit to always do or never do?
To be more engaged with the guests.
Okay. Yep. How about you?
To not let anybody think that we're just, run-of-the-mill.
Okay.
To make sure that we can stand out somehow.
Yeah, great. So one thing about engagement, this is, I wasn't there, but I'm kind of inferring it was a pour and ignore situation, right? Have you guys had those? Where it's just not being engaged. I have to share with you, and Bree's going to giggle about this because she heard it already, my worst example of this, and I will not say the name of the winery, but I walk in and the greeting is like 5 minutes. I'm with a friend. There's no one else in this winery. Very high-end winery. It's, beautiful venue and great wines and another reputation and other owners. And there was a woman at the back of the counter knitting for 5 minutes. Like just, and we're like, Finally she looks up. Would you like to do a tasting? Why, yes, we would. Come up to the counter. And she, the whole time, she just like poured name of the wine and goes back to her knitting between every wine. I mean, like no engagement. And I am dying inside. Because I'm like, do you understand how many hundreds of times I'm going to tell this story? Like, this is just like, so, was this person knitting? No. It becomes a question. Okay, who would like to go next? I know we've got another one. Come on. We had some others. Thank you. Are we saying the name of the winery?
Sure.
Only if it's good. Okay.
North.
What is it?
Floggy North.
How do you spell it?
Quavy.
Okay? North, got it. Okay. Super. Was anything in the backstage showing?
No.
Okay. How was the greeting? Great, great greeting. Okay. Referral source. Do they know what brought you in today?
No.
No. Okay. Service heart.
Yeah.
Great. Knowledge of wines and winery.
Yes.
Passion and enthusiasm.
Very.
Any analogies?
No.
Any great storytelling you're going to remember a month from now?
Not towards me, more among him and other wine club members.
Okay. I'm actually asking about your experience. So there was. Okay. Do you know why the brand is unique? Based on that experience.
It's a family-owned and operated business from the 70s.
Okay, so is family, from our conversation before, is family owned and operated business from the 70s unique?
No.
No, it's not. So I'm not saying that's not true or not important or not authentic, but it doesn't pass that gut check stuff we were talking about before. Is that fair? Okay. Any open-ended questions? Okay. Positive profiling. Well, by definition, no, you can't do it. Okay. Did you drop some buying signals?
I asked a few times on certain wines.
Did he?
that
Is it he or she?
He.
Did he pick up on that?
No.
No. Okay. You see what I mean when I say that? Like, if someone's not picking up and you're being obvious, don't you think it's different for you going back?
Well, I use that at our winery. Somebody says, oh, I really like cabs. I'm going to open a cab and be like, well, we happen to have them.
Yeah. And so, did he actually ask for the order?
Nope.
Okay. Wine club?
No.
Data capture?
No. Other than the POS when I made a purchase.
Well, that actually
Okay.
works, right? I mean, it's way better. I'm going to make it a dash. It's way better to bring it into the communication, why they would want to stay in touch. You're having a great time. 67% of people, if you just ask if they've had a good time, are going to say yes. Not 100%, but 2/3 will just by asking. It's still better than nothing still to get it through the POS system, but I'd rather have the engagement and rapport building. Whitney, surprise and delight.
No.
Okay. And farewell?
Yeah.
Great. Customer satisfaction, 1 to 5.
3.
Okay. 3. So what is one key lesson you learned from that experience that you're taking back to the winery?
Based on there were only 2 other people in there.
Yep.
One was a wine club member. I would probably have my team not focus on our wine club members, but also make other customers feel just as special and not just continue a conversation with just a wine club member versus this is a potential wine club member.
Yeah. You have to have equality, right?
Yes.
For sure. Okay, who else would like to do one? Anyone? Yes, I'll do here and then you'll be next. Okay.
I did 13 wineries.
Okay, so choose. So Brenda, so guys, what are you in the mood for? Are you in the mood for her best experience or her worst experience?
I'll just go for the one she remembers.
Give me your best experience.
Hey, could I just say the 2 that were the best experiences we had? Because I brought my team to different places.
That's fine.
Belfiore and Clinton. Those were the 2.
Very
that were
cool.
the best.
Okay, so which one do you want to share?
Who wants to be talked about?
I don't mind.
Let's do Belfiore. Okay.
Especially after you get positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go for it, guys. Okay.
Hey, there was no backstage, but we were a little confused at where to go. Like
Okay.
upstairs, downstairs.
Okay. Okay. So that's actually, it's one of those things that's on that backstage list are there directions and things.
It was a slower day, I think, because they sometimes have a concierge or whatever. I'm not
Okay. Yeah, but we got to think that through because if you don't have a greeter every day, you need to make sure signage and stuff is. And this is so hard because we get so used to it. We walk by that all the time. And actually going with a fresh pair of eyes after you've done mystery shopping back to your own winery and kind of say, okay, if I didn't know this before, is everything, obvious? Walk a mile in their moccasins. Okay. Greeting.
So once that happens.
We're going to go yes, no, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Yes.
Okay. And then I will give you time to chat at the end.
Yeah,
I
that's
promise. Referral source. Did they find out what brought you in today?
Yes.
Okay, great. Service heart.
Absolutely.
Knowledge of wines and winery.
Absolutely.
Passion and enthusiasm.
Overly passionate.
Any analogies?
All the time.
Yeah, lots of analogies? Cool. That you said yes on analogies? Okay, great storytelling.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Do you know why the brand is unique? Was there a unique brand story based on your experience, not what else you might know about them?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
Well, they talked about the vineyard part around and the pioneer, or, you know, that, and about the owner, how he, I don't know. I would say not that good.
Okay. She was trying. She was
I
trying.
couldn't remember that. It's like,
But you know,
Geothermal cooling system.
okay.
but you know what? That's kind of the litmus test, right? Like we know there were,
I get it.
yeah.
I totally get it.
This is, you guys, one of the reasons we start with the brand on this whole exercise for Seven Secrets is because it's actually one of the hardest, because it's just I know we're talking about the wines, but in a differentiated way that actually sticks for people who want to give you a green mark, you know. So just an idea. Okay, so Brand, any open-ended questions?
Yes.
Okay, great. Did they adjust based on those open-ended questions? Was there positive profiling?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
So some of us went different directions in our taste of wine. So he was grabbing other kinds of wines. He was dealing with like 6 of us
Okay.
at once, and he was figuring out what each one of us wanted.
Great.
And really like we were just like, wow, I can't even believe he knows all this.
So it was tailoring the experience based on your feedback. Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you actually give some buying signals?
Oh yeah.
And did he
Oh, yeah,
notice
we
them?
all got one.
And he noticed the buying signals?
Oh, of course.
Is this the key?
This is the key.
Awesome.
There are some wineries we didn't buy any wine from.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
didn't ask for the sale.
That's my rule. Like I could want to buy, but if you don't ask, I can't do it. I'll cry. Okay. He actually asked for the order.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
How many bottles could we get?
Okay. What about club?
He knew that we were in the industry, so he, you know, kind of was.
Okay.
I might have mentioned something about the club, but I didn't
Okay.
Yeah, well,
But it's
you
quite
didn't
broad.
really.
Yeah.
quite get after it.
Yeah. Do you guys do industry clubs?
I don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
unfortunately, that some places do in Napa, I'm a member because they do industry, so you get that discount.
Yeah, so something to consider is if you guys give each other industry discounts, which you probably, I would assume you do, right?
Almost everybody gets.
Right.
Not everyone, but.
Right, but if you do that, why wouldn't you also have an industry club? You're going to give them you're going to give them a discount anyway. Yes, John?
How does, I don't know what an industry club,
I'm about to share with you.
okay, I'll just shut up.
It's like he's my shill. This is great.
Pay me later.
So here's how it works. It's like it's just like your other club, but it may have a T next to it, whatever. It's set up as a separate club in your system, so it has a different discount structure that mirrors the structure that you'd be giving them when they walked in. You give it to them anyway, and if someone likes your wines well enough and is a member of your club, and remember, the best thing that we can do is get that word of mouth to try to get them to drive in new traffic. And what better thing, I'm at Belfiore and he says, wow, I'm a member of Duck Pond, where should I go next? Well, if I want to drive 4.5 hours, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so it's a fabulous, fabulous way to authentically be driving traffic back and forth. And again, it's like if you already like the wines and you'd be going there anyway, just food for thought. There are many regions that have really adopted this, and it can be kind of cool. Okay, because it's like formalizing your influencer group or your outreach networking group.
Well, and your outreach goes further because when you say, and if people ask me, Willamette, I'll tell them, North Valley, they're great.
Yeah.
Because I have the experience of their wine over and over and
Yeah.
over again. It's not just that I went there once.
Yeah, it's truly authentic.
It's truly, and that's because their industry,
Yeah.
I'm a wine club member now, and I have been for 4 years
Yeah.
because they get
You like the wines, you drink it consistently, you go, you know it's a rocking
and
good
they
time.
were almost one of my best wine tasting experiences.
Neat.
Anyways.
Yeah. So consider it. but I understand since she fessed up that she was in trade that might have gotten a little wonky. Data capture?
I think when we checked out, it was,
Okay, like the POS stuff, okay. Any surprise and delight?
yes.
What was it?
We were surprised someone was that enthusiastic.
It's the same as his surprise and delight.
So much fun, and we were
Okay.
pleasantly surprised at kind of getting what we wanted.
Okay, so really that tailoring of, well, you talked about the extra pours are pulling out stuff based on different, awesome. Farewell?
Of course.
Of course. Okay, rate from 1 to 5, customer satisfaction. Awesome, great, yay. Cool. Well, we have another positive one in the room. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. I'm going to have you go again.
Okay. So, more.
What is the name of the winery? What's the name of the winery again, please?
And you got a
Cliff Creek.
Cliff Creek. What? Cliff Creek. Thank you. Okay. Let's go. And we're going to go really fast on this because I'm giving you a second bite of the apple.
How to get in there.
Okay.
We didn't, the signage was confusing.
Okay.
We were all over the place.
Greeting?
Greeting? Yes.
Referral source, what brought you in today? Did they ask?
Yes,
Okay. Service heart,
absolutely.
knowledge of wines and winery,
Absolutely.
passion and enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
Any analogies?
I don't really notice that.
Okay. Storytelling? Great storytelling, you remember
Yeah,
now? Okay. Do you know what the brand is different and unique?
No.
Okay. Open-ended questions.
Yes.
Okay. And then do they shift gears based on what they learned? Positive
Yes.
profiling.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. How?
So just another thing, tailoring to our needs and opening different bottles and knowing what we
Okay.
wanted.
So that extra. Okay. So
And even bringing in.
no, we don't. Surprise and delight.
Bringing in the owners
Okay.
added a lot.
Yeah,
to-
cool.
That was fun.
So those are both down on surprise and delight, and that's an example of positive profiling. Absolutely. Do they pick up on buying signals?
Yes, but they didn't ask for the same.
Okay, that's fine. You can. That's why we separate these. Sometimes you pick up on the buying signals, but then they forget to actually. Okay. Okay. So not asking for the order. What about wine club?
Yes.
Effectively. Okay. Contact data capture.
I don't really know. We did buy wine because we just thought it was some of the best wine in Valley.
Okay, so, well, that's really good. So what happens is the reason we ask for this differently is because so often, if we think about it, on average in the industry, we'll probably have somewhere between 40 to 65% conversion rate for wine sales, but yet we only have about 5 to 10% for contact data capture. So we are not good at always getting the contact data from people who purchase for us. You might on your swipe in your POS systems, and that's different region by region. And farewell?
Hugs.
Hugs, okay. And customer sat?
Fine.
Okay, super. Okay, we're going to go to, what's one key lesson from each of those wineries that you take back to yours?
I think the friendliness, but what we really took back was tailoring to our needs.
Yeah. The stuff we were talking about this morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what I think, and I will just say this, it got me excited about our whole industry. Everyone did well. I mean, no one, we only had 1-3. And it was exciting to see all of you out there and having that passion.
That's great.
And, there was only one place that really ignored us, and we were even in the industry, but they ignored us completely.
Wow.
But that's okay. But I will say that the knowledge of wine in this area is fantastic, and our product is fantastic.
Yeah, great. Next one. Courtney, did you say you had
Yeah.
one? Super, let's go. Are we going to name the winery or not?
Yeah, you
Yeah. Which one? Oh, this is so awesome.
It's not Southern Oregon, but Argyle.
Argyle, okay. Okay. Is anything in the backstage showing?
Nope.
Was great greeting?
Yes.
Referral source, did they find out what brought you there?
Yes,
Okay. Do they have service heart?
yes,
Okay. Knowledge of wines and winery?
yes,
Passion and enthusiasm?
yes,
Analogies?
no,
Great storytelling?
no,
Do you know why their brand is different?
yes.
Okay, because of the experience, not outside knowledge. Okay, why is their brand different?
Well, to me, when I think about why it's different, I like their story, their backstory, and the way they portray
What is it?
So it is just passion and all their different vineyards and how they're sourcing and also the way they're training their staff really shows to me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool, because they're a wise client. Yay.
Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, open-ended questions.
Yep.
Cool. Did they do something with that information? Positive profiling, shifting gears based on what they learned from you. Give me an example.
Doing extra course, what I'm looking for too.
Relevant. Okay, and that would be also then that's knocking off surprise and delight. Then yeah. Buying signals, did they pick up on them?
No.
Ooh. Okay. Did they ask for the order?
No.
No. I spoke too soon. How about club?
No.
Oh, you're killing me. Contact data capture?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's better than not. Positive farewell?
What?
Positive
Oh, yes,
farewell?
yes.
Okay. And rating at 1 to 5? And again, I want to say something here. When we're doing the customer rating, ignore all that. It doesn't. If you're a consumer, you don't know what these business objectives are and reds and greens, and who cares? Just if you're telling a friend, it rocks or not, So where are you 1 to 5? 4? Super. Okay. All right. All right. We have time. Do we have energy for one more?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you do one in the back? Yeah. Anybody? Anybody?
Ellen and Megan or?
I thought they did. Who wants to share?
I'll do it.
Thank you. Wait a second, I forgot, I missed a step. I will come right back to you. What is one key lesson you're taking away back to the winery?
Asking for the sale.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to buy.
Yes.
Buy a lot. But I wasn't asked for it.
Right. Okay. Joel.
So I'll just clarify, I didn't do a tasting, I was with my wife, we just got a glass of wine,
Okay,
still.
but do we still have some relative things to share here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are we saying the name of the winery? It's fine if you don't.
Yeah, it was too hot,
Tuha?
too hot.
How do you spell that?
Just the number 2 and then hot.
Hawk, okay. Is it a bird? Okay. All right. So, anything in the backstage showing?
No,
Great greeting?
yes,
Did they find out what brought you in?
yes,
Okay. Service heart.
yes,
Knowledge of wines and winery.
yes.
Describe it with passion and enthusiasm?
No,
No? Okay. Any analogies?
no,
Any storytelling?
no.
Any engagement about do you understand why the brand is unique?
I think so.
Because of that experience or because of outside knowledge?
I mean, a little of both.
Okay.
I would say, I mean, I like that place because.
Green or red?
Go green.
Go green. Okay. Check or dash. Okay. It's fine. Open-ended questions? And this may, if you're just having a glass of wine, maybe there's not that much.
Not really.
Not really? Okay. Okay. Positive profiling? Well, no, by definition, you can't do it. Okay. Any buying? Did you drop any buying signals? If you didn't, we'll just skip. Okay, that's fine. Did they actually ask you to buy wine?
No,
Okay. Any effective pitch on the club?
no.
Contact data capture?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay. And then any surprise and delight? Anything that exceeded your expectations?
They really sold me on the cheesecake.
Okay.
But then I did get
And a farewell?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Customer satisfaction? Yeah, I don't know. It's like, eh. Okay, 4. Super. So, thank you guys. First, and what's a key lesson that you're taking back to the winery?
So I think it was just the fact that if somebody grabs a glass and goes and sits, just still stay committed to working with them on talking about the wine.
It's a really good point. And for those of you who do have wine by the glass options, it doesn't mean you get to punt the entire engagement thing. As a matter of fact, you need to kind of think through your guest journey map of what it's like when you're doing tasting and what it's like when you've got wine by the glass or wine by the bottle. And you need to have reasons to come back to the table, or, reasons to come back and keep engaged so we can be planting those seeds and figuring out who's in front of us. So you had a positive experience, but lots of missed sales opportunities and engagement.
Can I add something to that glass paradigm thing? Because that just struck a chord with me because I often feel like I should leave them alone. Sometimes people don't want to be bothered if they're there to get a glass. They
Absolutely.
just really appreciate each other's company. So I guess you'd have to gauge
Yeah, you got to read
how
it.
much conversation is going on and what that entails. Sometimes it's people who even do tastings and they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, figuring that out, sometimes you have to really mess up in your mind.
You always have to read the customer, and even in tasting situations, you're going to try a couple times, try to make conversation. If it just kind of goes flat, okay, come back, try another time. If on the third time it's like really these guys, it's googly eyes across the glasses, whatever. Then fine, leave it. You're just there to serve, but try. I think my point in this is so often we see people at wineries who, they're here for a glass, they're not here for the engagement. First of all, who are you to judge? You have no idea, right? And so we want to make sure that we at least have opportunities. You can ask open-ended questions, and if they're leading somewhere, great. And if not, you'll get that vibe and you can shift gears. But I don't want you not to try, which is too often what we see in these different types of guest situations. Any surprises for you guys up on the wall? Any surprises you for this? Mostly, positive experiences, which is great. But what jumps out at you?
Only one person asked for the order.
Only one person asked for the order. Yeah. Only one person asked for the order. We've got only one, on club.
In terms of the club thing, because there's not industry club and most people, if they found out your industry, wouldn't.
Yeah. But most of the instructions were that I think some people followed is not to tell them your industry. And my strong encouragement for you guys, I know that means you've got to pay for your tasting, but a great way to learn is don't go where you're known and don't say you're in the industry and just have the consumer experience. Because if you say you're in the industry, you'll either have a more positive experience or a more negative experience, but you're not going to have the normal experience. And you learn from the normal, right? And so that is, yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
This might be naive. But from this matrix, it seems like you're assuming 100% wine club ask, regardless of what the experience has been leading up to that moment.
Actually, thank you for asking the clarifying question. What we're really looking for here is on the order. We're actually on the wine order. We're actually saying, did they actually ask you to buy wine or not? That's a little bit binary.
Yeah.
When we're doing mystery shops, we take it down the next level to kind of say, was it a natural act or an unnatural act? And the natural act is it's just the extension of the conversation. It's it's natural. It feels good. And unnatural is they've been in monologue for 30 minutes and they bolt this on the end just because their manager told them they had to. And that's still better than not asking at all, but it's unnatural. It feels a little weird. On the club, our standards are a little bit higher. What we're looking for is, did they actually effectively pitch the club, which means that's our next exercise. Planting seeds, bringing up the appropriate benefits based on who's in front of them. Just tossing a brochure across the counter does not count, and so we're really looking at kind of a higher standard on that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and just same kind of idea. Just for me personally, when I'm in the tasting room, there are some times where we're very clearly not on track to the wine club, and that's okay. And those people are invited too, But I was curious if, from your perspective, just in your expertise, you're nope, 100% ask.
100%. I would like you to find a way to work it in, choreograph it into the conversation, and plant those seeds and bring up those benefits, and you'll tell if you're hitting traction or not.
Right.
Okay, and so, but if someone's doing that, we're giving them credit. That's that's a positive. But we're really just saying we're bringing it up of saying. Because there's so many different ways, and we're going to play with this in a few minutes, where you can be really dropping hints and seeing what's interesting them. And we just spent time, and this is why we have the higher standard on it, this morning saying, If you are talking about wine club in the same exact way every single time, you are missing big opportunities. Sorry, my hair's falling out. Okay. Okay, so is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick
Yeah.
question about capturing data, their personal data. So we talked about just the POS thing.
Mhm.
Is that okay to send people information without asking them if it's okay?
You know, someone, well,
We
actually,
don't, and I was just wondering.
Well, actually, someone came up in Willamette that they thought it was not okay that their POS provider. My understanding of internet and email law is if they are a customer, which they are by definition, you've rung the register, that it is okay. But do check with your POS system because we're hearing some stuff, Monday that was not my understanding.
Right, on our platform, it says specifically when we're about to send out a mass email, it says, do you have permission to email?
Yeah, if they're a customer, the law is if they're a customer, you do.
You do, okay, thanks.
That is my understanding. Check with your lawyer, though. I want to make sure. Yes.
So I want to also clarify on that, because when you say data, like like we touched on earlier, is a way for you to contact them. So just, buying wine, like she said, you're not necessarily contacted. So when they were like, oh yeah, well, I bought wine, so I was in the POS, but you're not, for us, you're not in our POS just because you came in and bought wine that day. Like, yeah, we swiped your card and, you moved on and we might have your signature receipt, but
Right.
you're not in
And that's why
database.
that's why I'm talking about. You might sell 60% of the people visit you wine, but you're only capturing 5% of the data. You got 55% of people who are satisfied with you, and you haven't bothered to get the data. Like that's missed opportunity.
So are we just talking about having something where you're like, oh, would you sign up for our email list?
Yeah, it could be email. It could be, would you like to, because you're having conversations about types of events you do, or you do food and wine pairing recipes, or whatever, or reasons to stay in touch. We'd love to stay in touch. If you want to join our email list, we can send you this information. So you want to we're going to play with this a little bit later too. You want to think through appropriate seed planting opportunities to get them to want to do that. And so all of the above works. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Okay. So what I decided to, as I mentioned to some of you during the break, is the Willamette Valley Winery Association. Is that the right name of it? WVWA. Actually hired Wise to come up last fall and actually shop. And so I thought I'd show you what the results of the shop are. So we did 31 shops overall, and you can see the overall guest satisfaction there were some 2s and then 3s and 4s and 4s and 1 5. So in general, a positive from a guest satisfaction standpoint, 3.3. So overall positive. And now the whole thing even about this, it's only 31 shops, and that's 7 shops. These are not statistically significant. They are at best directionally interesting. Okay, is the way we should look at that. But I think it's interesting to look at. There's some trends, and given this data set here, they asked for the order 77% of the time. That's awesome because I know we did similar round of shops about 5 years ago. We do for individual wineries all the time, but in terms of the whole region, and that was way lower. And so really neat to see it coming up. But effectively selling club or asking for the contact data was only 16-17%. And so much lower. What are we really good at up in Northern Oregon is really good at not having the backstage show, really good at great greeting, which is super. Referral source, 52%. Actually, you guys, had a lot of referral source. That's awesome, because that means you're already naturally kind of building that rapport and figuring out what got you in today, which is great. Such an advantage. Really good at service heart, certainly, as you guys are well. So what I normally see when we go into regions, well respected, certainly like both of these, is we expect to find people with service heart. We expect to have good wine and winery knowledge. We expect to have good passion and enthusiasm. We expect the backstage not to be showing. They're kind of table stakes issues. The rest of the opportunities of turning red to green is more about, okay, now how can we take this even further? How can we raise the bar for the guest experience? And so service heart is strong, surprise and delight, lots of opportunity for both you guys, actually. Yes, you were about half. You were a little bit tracking a little bit even better than them. Surprise and delight is opportunity. Passion, enthusiasm, and knowledge were there. Use of analogies, it was only 32%. Great storytelling, 61%. Compelling brand, only 32%. This is also, when I pulled it, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to show this or not. I actually also looked at our data for the whole Pacific Northwest. It was actually pretty much in a line. We just don't have a lot of data points down here yet. And so positive profile or open-ended questions, 52%, but yet only 35% of the time were there shifting gears, positive profiling. Features and benefits selling, which is an exercise we're going to do next, is 26%. Planting those sales seeds along the way, 39%. Noticing buying signals, 55%. And awesome at farewells. Okay, so was this conversation helpful for you guys? It give you some things to hopefully go back and go back to the winery and think about. I really encourage you guys. One is having mystery shop done on your winery is awesome because when you guys walk in the room, no matter what, behavior changes. It's just human nature, right? We can't actually see what's really happening. So having a third party do it is great. But even more importantly, go out and do this with your team. It's a great way for you to learn and for them to learn because we're so close to it at our own winery and to kind of go see it through a fresh pair of eyes. And in that case, actually pretend like you're a consumer, not trade, because it's one of the best ways to learn. Yes?
So one of the only things that I came from a couple of totally different industries when I got in this industry. Of course, this whole no backstage thing, that's something that was plugged into my head. But since I've been doing this, I do find that occasionally when something does have to happen, for example, we have 18 pallets coming in off of a truck in the middle of business hours, if we don't have a way to hide it, it actually is a conversation piece and it's kind of cool.
It's very cool, and thank you for making that point. I should have said earlier, there's two different types of backstage. One is we're in working wineries. That's part of the performance art. I'm not actually talking about that stuff. Pallets coming in, hoses dragging, water going. I mean, we're production facilities. That's going to happen, and that is kind of cool. The backstage that we're talking about is the stuff that you just don't want the guests to see. You know, it's the clutter that doesn't need to be there. It's the, you know, in some cases, it's, you know, owners or winery executives walking through the tasting room and starting to get into business mode, which is, wait a minute, we're destroying like the performance art period of what's going on, right? And so it's kind of a fine point. But what I love about the conversation about front stage, backstage with your teams is it's a healthy way to talk about where there's gaps. So it's kind of like, okay, guys, just having it be, I don't know if you do, you know, debriefs at the end of every day or end of every week. I mean, you should shift debriefs as, hey, where was our backstage showing today? Who noticed what? And so it's not the, gosh darn it, Johnny, you keep leaving the supply closet open. It's the supply closet with encouraging everybody to have big eyes and really be looking and calling out. So our standard is not to have the backstage show. There's a reason at Disney, when everybody's in character, that they've got the guy in character who's the pooper scooper guy going behind the horse, right? We want to make sure that, you know, the backstage isn't hanging out for too long. Does that make sense? Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Oh, yes.
I have an example of probably the worst backstage experience that I've ever witnessed. And this was at a very well-known, pretty swanky winery down in Napa.
Of course.
And, well, yeah, they're all swanky and well-known.
And knitting, apparently, yes.
And I was at the bar by myself, and somebody came rushing in and said to the person working behind the bar, "We got some big fish coming in, get ready."
Oh,
and the guy said, "Well, we'll put them over here."
Oh my God.
And he pointed to where I was standing. And I said, "Oh, would you like me to move?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, yeah, sure, that would be great."
Oh my God.
I moved right out the door.
It kills me.
I could not even believe that.
Yeah.
Big fish coming in.
Yeah. So it's just having everybody having that attention this is performance, and we never, ever, ever let our backstage show. Unless, of course, it's performance art. That was not performance art. Okay. Okay, let's get going.
my future happens. That's what I'm doing. That's how I just.
So I'm going to get back to the 7 secrets and pick up where we left off. We saw during mystery shopping a number of these come to life. So, do we leverage our brand power? Are we selling our brand first, wine second? Not as much as we'd like during the mystery shopping. Are we embracing the buyer's continuum, figuring out, hey, what brought you to the winery? What kind of relationship do you have with you? Are you actually asking enough open-ended questions to use positive profiling and shifting gears to tailor the experience? All the many different ways we talked about building rapport, from great greeting to the referral source question to open-ended questions, analogies, etc., storytelling. And we also talked about, do they notice buying signals? It's a quick one. It's just yes or no. It's one of those secrets. If we just attune ourselves that let's assume people are here to buy versus assuming they're not here to buy. And by having kind of big eyes and some awareness around that, you'll see so many more that are right there in front of you. We also covered both customer satisfaction as well as our business objectives through the WISE triple score. What I want to spend some time in our next exercise going through is a little bit more about wine club sales. We've talked about it, and I promised a deeper dive, which we're going to do now. If done correctly, selling wine clubs should not be a hustle. I think it's the conversation you were having saying, what are we measuring here? And what we're really trying to look for is how do we bring this up naturally into this process in a positive, helpful sales kind of way. It's good forever. Wine club is by this, like the definition, if done correctly, of positive, helpful sales. And here's how it really works. For those of you who are comfortable with it or have mastered it, they've usually mastered the art of what I call hanging with the sale. So you don't let it go, but you don't act like a club shark. It's that fine balance of just bringing in enough planting seeds to see if there's interest. And if there's interest, then fine. You start reeling it in. So that's that concept of bringing up one club benefit, again, based on the conversation that's going to be relevant, and then let it go. Go serve others or go back to other open-end questions. And later bring up another club benefit. Maybe you're working it into the tour, maybe talking about the last event you had, and then let it go. Serve others or back to open-ended questions. And do that about 3 times. And if they're not biting, then fine. You're backing off from it, always still as the gracious part of the close of the whole experience. If you want any information about the clubs, there it is. But you want to be persistent but not sharky. It's that fine line. So what are the benefits from a consumer point of view? What are benefits for joining the wine club? What's in it for them? Yes?
Private or special events for members only.
Private special events, absolutely. What else?
First privilege on wines.
First privilege on wines, sure. Yes, member savings. My preferred term, yes. Access to older vintages, yes. Complimentary tastings, great. Bring your friends, brag to them, yes.
Not having to go out and shop for wine.
The convenience of it, that's awesome. Yes. Being part of the winery family and part of the club, and there's a community aspect around this. I mean, we could just go on and on. John, did you have another one? Okay, cool. And so the whole point about this is there's so much in it for the customer. And what I'd like you to do is at 8A, I gave someone my
8A.
8A, there's the what's in it for the club, what's in it. I'm just going to look over your thing. Yes, you've got it there. Perfect, 8A. So that's what's in it for the customer. What I'd like you to do is spend a moment and jot down what's in it for the winery. Why is the winery so passionate about selling clubs? And also, what's in it for you personally? What's in it for you personally? Spend a moment and fill those out. And back on the customer side, what's in it for the customer? Think of the different profiles we talked about. The ratings junkie, the value buyer, the know-it-all, the advice seeker, the newbie. What's in it for those customers? Okay. So what's in it for the customer? We already talked about a lot of the generic options, which are great. Also, we're selling memories. I mean, there's part of this. Actually, you were talking about it. Was it Connie? Was it you were talking about your trade membership up north? That's great. You've got this really authentic connection that you are telling other people about because there's memories attached to that. It's also club is like that gift you give yourself that keeps on giving, which is really awesome. So along the buyer's continuum, the more our club members feel those respect and rewards that they deserve, the longer they stay. So really having 10-year programs that escalate with the amount of time they stay with us is really important. The ratings, the rating junkies really are going to be attracted by these are the winemakers' favorites. These are the special selections. These are the ones, sometimes the highest rated wines don't even get out to anybody else. It's just reserved for the club. The value buyers are certainly going to be attracted to that member savings, both on the actual cost of the wine as well as shipping. Advice seekers is we do the selections for you, and you can help learn and grow as we go. Know-it-alls, it's those winery exclusives. It's the special access. It's the inside track. And newbies, it's a way to sample. It's a way to learn and reorder your favorites. So it really, it has something for everyone. And now that we understand, we knew it before subconsciously, but now that we have kind of a framework to talk about it, it's a way that we can kind of beef up how we're chatting about club with different customer or guest categories. What's in it for the winery? Profit. Absolutely.
Well, creating richer brand champions.
Richer brand champions. Yeah, all of the above. So the fact that on the kind of the word of mouth, the brand champions, the brand ambassadors, these ones that they don't start out up your buyer's continuum, but they'll get there if they've had this rich and rewarding experience. And to the extent they go out and spread the good word and they're serving your wine at dinner parties and all, I mean, you can't pay for that level of PR. It's fabulous. On the profitability, that's significant, right? Most wineries would not exist. The business model wouldn't work if we didn't have direct-to-consumer, and the foundation of direct-to-consumer is the clubs. That's the heartbeat. So it's not only a big part of the business model, but it's a really profitable aspect. Our bottles of wine that we sell through direct-to-consumer club are usually 4 to 5 times more profitable than what we sell through to trade, because trade takes so much of the margin. There's also another aspect out of this that is unlike any other. I've run 9 companies over the last 27 years. I've never had something with a business model like this that you can plan on so well. 3 or 4 times a year, X number of dollars, you can plan ahead, and it just kind of makes life simpler versus having so much else up in the air. And so those are all awesome reasons for wineries to really be into clubs. What's in it for you?
Well, we get a bonus.
Great, bonus. Goes in your wallet. Is that what you're going to say, Kate? Yeah. What?
Relationship.
You're not.
I like creating a community.
Yeah.
It's my community too.
Yeah.
And our wine club members are awesome.
Yeah. So you said community, and you said here relationship building, and all of that's really important. It's a really rewarding aspect of the job. I mean, have you ever sold a wine club membership, a new wine club member, and then been depressed afterwards? No. Right? This is cool. This is fun.
I get gummy bears.
You do?
Gummy bears, and one such wine club members make all of us peanut brittle.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's just oh, I got a bottle of tequila.
That's awesome. So we're going to play with clubs. So we're rah, rah, rah. Good for customer. This is the win-win-win. Good for the customer, good for the winery, good for us. But yet, what do we see on the, for Northern Oregon, it was only mentioned at all 17% of the time. Club down here was only mentioned at all, 1 out of 7 times. So what's holding us back? This is, and I think actually as we go and do work like this in classes and mystery shopping debriefs and something, we often hear it's like this myth buster that our frontline team members in the tasting room, we think that everybody is bringing up club and so, oh gosh, I don't want to bother them. They've probably heard club, they've been to a bunch of wineries, they've probably been clubbed to death. It's like, well, clearly the stats do not show it. It's not true. We're not even bringing it up. And I don't know why that is, because we just went through a conversation saying it's good for everybody. It's win, win, win. And so we're going to play with this a little bit more to see if we only want to bring it up in the way that it's natural and helpful and organic and not this weird thing bolted on the end, right? So one of the things, if you look at, not about clubs specifically, but it plays in here, people who are really good at sales, like you say, oh, it's a natural salesperson, have mastered the art of features and benefit selling, okay? Feature is a factual statement about your product or service, and the benefit answers the question, what's in it for the customer? Couple examples. Okay, if I had a 100% cashmere sweater, that's the feature. What's the benefit? Warm, soft, snuggly, elegant, natural. There can be many benefits, right? So, okay, if a car is fuel efficient, that's the feature. What's the benefit? Less money on gas. What else? Environmentally friendly. Right. So you can see there can be a feature could have different benefits show up for different type of people based on what you care about. So let's work through some of these real-life tasting room examples. Turn to handout 8B and write down the corresponding benefits for each of the 3 features that are mentioned. Of features and benefits selling, stopping and catching their breath, rather than just talking about, we've been in business since 1979 and it's family run and we're biodynamic and that's feature, versus just breaking up the rhythm and saying why you should care about that. It comes off more natural. It comes off more, and that's going to stick with the customer way more. So think through. If family, it sounds like for most of you guys, family-owned, family-run business is part of what you do. Take it that step further. Say, how does that show up in your world, and why does your customer care? Let's talk about the next one, which was let's say it's a Chardonnay with malolactic fermentation. Okay, that's the feature. What's the benefit?
A little bit more body or creaminess from it without actually having oak impartation, changing the flavor. It's not traditional. Is traditional? I don't.
Yeah. Well, there's many different styles. Yeah. That's why we do both the malolactic and non-malolactic example. So, first of all, rather than sometimes you have to rattle off those big fancy wine words and scare everybody, but if you do. This Chardonnay, it has malolactic fermentation. So for those of you who love that creamy, buttery mouthfeel, this one's for you, okay? Now, give me the example of a Chardonnay with non-malolactic fermentation. What's the benefit? Crisp, cream, true varietal expression. Great. So for those of you who like, the crisp, clean palate, that's a non-malolactic fermentation. Am I saying something wrong, Vince? Or you're just laughing about me?
I'm just laughing.
It's a winemaker taking notes.
Okay. Are there 1,000 what's about your wines there, Vince? Lots of what's. Got it. So, but what we want to do is we want to help connect the dots, right? We certainly want to share things about our world and about what are the differences of our wines and how we're making it. But we know that if we overwhelm them with so much data and facts, we're going to lose them. And so translating it, we talked about translating it into their world versus analogies. This is translating it into the world in terms of why they should care about what we're talking about. Does that make sense? Okay. Not the cop on the corner. Okay. So this whole concept of features and benefits selling is actually the secret number 6 of successful selling techniques for natural, helpful sales. We just did a deep dive on that for Wine Club, but as you saw in some of the earlier exercises, you want to use kind of the features and benefits concept when you're talking about your winery, when you're drilling in on what are those key points and how you want to express the brand and how you're different. You know, don't just say family-owned wineries, connect the dots. Why does the customer care? What's in it for the customer? You want to use it for your wines. We saw that example between a Chardonnay that had malolactic fermentation versus non-malolactic fermentation. Who cares? Connect the dots. Help them understand how it's going to show up in their world. We just did the dive on Club. We certainly can do this on contact data. You know, we want to stay in touch because we need those second dates, but we need to give them a reason to care about that. And so it's planting those seeds of events, of content, of, you know, ways, hey, we're coming to your market type of thing. The last part, before we've got a few more exercises to do together, but the last secret is all around getting over the fear of selling, which is kind of this human nature thing. You know, it's fear of sales for some people, a lot of people, actually. It's pretty common. So what are we afraid of? Rejection, right. And it's just human nature. It's just part of it. So the thing is reframing what we're doing, you know, into sales, something that's binary, and I'm going to win or I'm going to get rejected, into this is just part of that superb service, right? This is just part of Platinum Experience. We've been here for a while now. I've been getting to know you. There's some stuff that we have in our clubs and with our wines that I think you'd really enjoy over time. And so once you're actually built the rapport, that rejection goes down. But think about this. You've got some gal up in Portland who just came back from a really horrible day at work, like horrible day. And she comes home and your Wine Club delivery is on her, you know, is obviously not on her porch because you can't leave without an adult signature, but someone brought it inside. And so there's their box of her favorite Wine Club. And does her day automatically get better? Yeah, it's that surprise that keeps on giving. She opens up a nice bottle of white, sits in the tub, all the things, it just becomes better. And so the thing is, what we're selling, kind of back to the what's in it for us on Club, it's this win-win-win scenario, and yet we can become almost choked out of the fear of asking because we don't want to be rejected. But we've got to reframe that into, hey, this is a benefit and a service for them. What happens with sales, and people who are really good at sales, and it looks natural, and they have fun with it, have just kind of gotten over it. And there's a couple things, 5 steps that we work with at Wise that I think really help you to kind of burst beyond that fear. And we've all had it. The first way to get over the fear of sales is number 1, no exceptions, love your product. And I'm serious on this. If you don't love the wines at your winery, please go get another job. Life's too short. Right? When you love it, you're enthusiastic, you're passionate, it's contagious, it's fun, it's easy. And it shows and it's authentic. And if you don't like wine, if you don't like this wine, or just whatever, there's other things you can do. You know, it's going to be that uphill struggle. So first of all, remember that you love your product and you're going to give great recommendations to your family and friends, and that will share your passion. That will be contagious. The second way to get over any type of fear of rapport is what we've spent a lot of time talking about already today, and that's developing rapport. One of the biggest areas where that fear kicks in is when you've been stuck in monologue mode for 35 minutes, 1,000 what's about your wines. You have no idea who's in front of you. Gosh darn it, you have to ask for the order before they leave. And this is feeling really uncomfortable because you haven't developed the rapport. And so actually we get called in all the time saying, come help my team ask for the order. It's like, that's actually the thing. Yeah, we'll get there. But how you work on it is all this upstream stuff of just laying the foundation and getting to know who's in front of you. So if you're doing that well, that fear should just go down. Because it's reframing sales, this scary thing, into this level of superb service. Of course, if I'm spending all the time getting to know you and getting to know what you like and noticing your buying signals and planting seeds that are relevant, to not ask would be strange and rude. And so it's really just reframing it. The other thing, there's a counterpoint, is, and I learned this early on in my sales career. My first job out of college was selling Folgers coffee and Citrus Hill orange juice for Procter & Gamble in the Philadelphia market. In and out of 13 grocery stores a day, building end aisle displays and stuff like that. And I learned pretty early on from one of my managers that when things go well in sales, you absolutely, point number 4, gotta celebrate your success, take it personally, pat yourself on the back, yay, I did it. And when things go poorly, water off a duck's back. You just have to kind of have that attitude. Sure, if there's something you can learn from it, great, but it's not gonna work all the time. Don't have that expectation. That's completely fine. But really, people who get good at just kind of getting over any fear, kind of saying, great, they're not all gonna work. This is a game, it's fun, usually does. And so it's just kind of that move on, And also, just because they didn't buy from you, and this is really important, doesn't mean they didn't have a rocking good time. They may be at the end of their budget, it's the end of their trip, and they had all your other friends here before they saw you, and so they've spent it, right? And it doesn't mean that they might not join the club later or buy from you online or come back to visit again or tell friends about what a great experience was. So the sales is not the only scorecard. It's an important one, and I want it to be a little bit more important than maybe some people have been focusing on before, but it's okay if it doesn't work. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy of like, it works great, yay. If it doesn't, it's okay, move on next. There's going to be another opportunity. And so that kind of rhythm really seems to work with successful salespeople. And a lot of the stuff, I've been giving you homework assignments all day. I've been showing you how you can go back and work with your teams. Practice, practice, practice. Now the stuff, just expand your repertoire, expand your pattern in some of these things so you have more tools in your toolkit. It really helps get your confidence up, because that's the biggest thing that has to do with sales, is getting our confidence up and keeping it up, because that's confidence and passion, that's contagious. What I'd like you to do on exercise 10, we're going to go back to the celebrate your sales successes and codify them a bit, is I'd like you to spend 5 minutes on your own thinking about your last, yes, it is section 10, your last 3 sales successes. I want you to think about them specifically. What were they? I'm not going to have you share it, but just specifically, what were they? And this could be selling wine or selling club. It could be persuading someone to do something. It doesn't have to be sales, but in terms of sales or persuasion in your life, in your work life, or in your personal life, doesn't matter. Your last 3 sales successes. I want you to write them down and be specific what it was. Then I also want you to answer the second question for each one, which is, why did that work? Kind of think through it. Yes?
So do you want it to be individual? Because there's some that are pretty spectacular that I was a part of.
As long as you were personally part of, I want you to have been personally involved. And one of the reasons it worked is because you were there. So I want, this is really what we're getting to, is a personal blueprint, if you will. So make sure it's personal. Thank you guys so much for doing that. One of the reasons I like to insert that exercise at this point is, well, actually, there's 3 reasons. One is, all day, we've been talking to things that are familiar with you, but have pushed you a little bit, and so we're building some new muscles, and some things might get a little uncomfortable, or you haven't thought of it that way. Yes, I want you to pursue all that, but also please know that what you just wrote down is your personal recipe for success. So don't lose that. It's a yes and situation. That's usually where you get kind of your power, or where you're from, your flow. You'll see it expand. You'll see it morph and change over time, and you should always be aware, what is the thing? These are sales successes. These are working. What are the common themes that are showing up that make that happen? So the first thing is, 1, be aware of it. Don't lose it as you're building other muscles. 2, is, and for some of you it'll be very relevant, is what can you do to make sure the stars align more often in your life? If you're waiting for your boss for it to be a perfect scenario so you can get this, it's like, no, that's personal accountability, guys. What can you do to make sure you know what you're like in the flow, make that show up in your world more often, and start making your own success? And the third reason I brought it up is it's actually the seventh secret of successful sales, is celebrating and codifying your successes as you go. This is what successful, natural, helpful, positive salespeople do, is on an ongoing basis. Yeah, if it doesn't work, water off a duck's back, but you know what? It works a heck of a lot of time. And having that awareness of when it's working for me, because that tools in your toolkit are going to expand. Your muscles are going to build up. It's going to evolve. That's okay. It's not static. It's fluid. And so be aware of it and celebrate it, because part of that process of codifying what works for you, it's just going to show up in your world more often. But if you get caught up in the, oh, it didn't work, or oh, I'm really afraid of doing this, you guys are already having tons of successes. You wouldn't be sitting here. You wouldn't care enough to come to a course like this. Your winery wouldn't care enough to send you. And so you already certainly have a baseline, and I just want you to build from there, because building from positive momentum is really important and not to be overlooked. Okay, so we've talked about the WISE triple score, which is customer satisfaction plus absolutely ask for the order. Make sure we're inviting people to take wine home with them. Nobody likes to be sold to. People love to be invited. Making sure we're inviting people to join the club. Bring up benefits that are relevant to them. And make sure people are invited to stay in touch. That contact data capture that's going to get us the second dates. I want to spend the balance of our time together diving into both better ways to be asking for the order and also remove some of those mental blocks around the contact data capture. Let's start with asking for the order. Before we start, on section 12 in your workbook, in the upper right-hand corner, I would like you to write, there's a blank box. I would like you to write down, wait, there's not? 11. Am I lying? I might be lying.
Yeah, it's 11.
I'm lying. Okay. It's number 11. That's lying. Oh, man. Okay. So number 11. Write down in that box what your personal wine buying budget is. I know a lot of you guys probably get free wine, or your owners, you have free wine. It's not free. But write down, if you were to buy wine, are you a $10 bottle buyer? Are you a $15 bottle? Are you a $20 bottle? Are you a $40 a bottle buyer? You know, where's your personal kind of flinch factor if you were to be buying wine? Let's say at the grocery. Let's pretend at the grocery store, okay? Because I think I want to get away from employee discounts and stuff like that. So at the grocery store, if you were to buy wine, what kind of price point would you be at? And do you buy 1 bottle, 3 bottles, 6 bottles, a case? I'm not going to have you share this with anyone, but just physically write it down. And I'll come back to this later. Remind me, in case I forget, to tell you why I'm asking you to do this, okay? All right. The rest of this is what I'd like you to do is to jot down on, now I'm confused. Number 11. I would like you to work with a neighbor. Did you work with neighbors before? Yes. So work with another neighbor. You're right, we did it once. So go the other direction, which means one of you guys may have to. So work with a new neighbor, one person, and I want you to go down and kind of fill out section 11. First of all, what do you use to plant the sales seeds? Meaning, things that you drop along the way, hints or just weaving things into the conversation that is not asking for the order, but it's getting them thinking about it. So what are the devices we use, the words we say when we do it to plant seeds for sales? And then the next section is when you are actually asking for the order, what are the physical words you say? What are your go-to phrases? Those things that come off as natural, helpful sales, not weird, icky, unnatural. But just what are those go-to phrases? So spend some time, and if it's too hard, go in threes. Anything new you heard of or that you really like, or your go-to things in this conversation. So the things that you do before asking for the sale that end up planting the seed for sales. And this is a great opportunity when you hear things from other people to jot it down. What'd you hear? What works? Yes, John.
Morgan mentioned if somebody's there and says, oh, you know, my daughter and my son would just love this. Say, hey, why don't you take some home with you and bring them back the next time you come in.
Yeah, that's good. It's a little bit closer to actually asking for there, but that's okay. It's picking up and noticing a buying signal, certainly. You had one.
I mean, it all comes back to savings, but at least in our tasting room, we do kind of do some little incentive, whether it's if you buy so much, you get a discount on a bottle, or, a 6 bottle, if you buy 6 bottles, you get a discount. So I think definitely, whether they're, first time in the tasting room or a wine club member, because obviously we have, different pricing for general and wine club.
Yeah.
So just pointing that out, hey, just take a peek at the bottom, you're gonna taste a couple of these if you like something, just something to consider, down the road. So
Absolutely.
it's not pushy, but it,
Yeah.
It brings their eyes down to the bottom of the menu, or
Yeah.
whether it's a separate
Yeah.
sheet or.
So I like what you're saying. I actually I view that almost like as a housekeeping step as you're getting set up. Hey, here's how this works. You're going to notice here we've got our regular prices, and these are actually our club prices. Down at the bottom, if you buy X bottles, just so it's kind of just get it out. You lay the foundation. What do you have back there?
Well, we're going to circle around about something that Kate was very successful for in her shopping visit. She mentions the scarcity of the wine.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great seed planter. Yes.
That's one thing we talked about too, but just to expand on Michaela's is that housekeeping agenda where you're kind of also pointing out that the tasting fee is waived with purchase.
Yes.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that already gets them thinking
Yeah,
about, well,
yeah.
I can basically get this half off,
Yeah.
but, or whatever.
And one thing about that's actually one of the where you waive the sales, where you waive the tasting fee is one of the best non-sales sales tactics out there. It really is. And what drives me crazy is when someone doesn't mention it. And the guest has not even noticed, and then you go mention it at the end. It's like, wait a minute, that wasn't the stimuli. So please, please, please get that out up front. And also, how many people wave at 1 bottle? Good, okay, 1. How many people wave at 2 bottles? 3 bottles, 4 bottles, or 3 more, okay. So when I first visited Oregon, now this was actually spending some time up in the Willamette, 5-6 years ago, and did that first kind of 30 mystery shops, literally everybody was waving at 1 bottle. And what happens is there's a psychology. If you wave at 1 bottle, and you tell them up front, please do, please do, they're in a binary mode. Am I going to buy or not? Whereas if you're waving at 2, 3, or 4 bottles, they're in shopping mode. It's a different psychology. And up front, they're thinking, which ones am I going to buy? And it makes all the difference in the world. And a lot of people have gone for it. Now, a lot of people have shifted there, and it makes perfect sense. So I encourage you to. Some people also do it off of a dollar amount, but if the dollar amount, make sure it translates to more than 1 bottle, right? So that way you're just kind of planting that seed and getting them into shopping mode is a really good one. What other seed planting ideas do we come up with?
Mention price of a wine, perhaps one that they show interest in. But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Once you describe something thoroughly, or to whatever extent you're comfortable with, mentioning, throwing the price in there gets them thinking about purchasing, gets them thinking about
Absolutely.
it becoming theirs,
Yeah.
and theirs for another time.
Yeah, no, planting that seed, that's great. What else do we have?
We also talked about working in their upcoming plans into the conversation and how this bottle of wine might fit into those plans.
Yeah, especially if you figured out, the restaurant they're going to, and the great restaurants around here. And so, hey, this would go really well with the duck tacos, right? You know that type of thing. That's awesome. What other seed planting ideas do we come up with?
Or on that same note, that we have a negotiation of waiving the bottle fee.
Yes.
Bring their own bottle.
Yeah, so knowing
A lot of restaurants have that.
knowing where they'll waive the corkage and all of that, it's absolutely great. Another thing too is bringing up shipping. Okay, where are you? You are going to find out where they're from. Is it in a good shipping state? And even that explanation, like, yay, that's a state we could ship to, versus Utah. But also, it's just planting. A seed, really, really hot. Like, hey, we do cold chain shipping, and make sure it gets there on time, whatever it is.
Well, like Alaska Airlines does Oregon wine.
Yes. Please, if you find out, I hope you ask. Who are you flying with? Please, and you can. It's almost in this upfront, part of building rapport and planting those seeds. Yeah, you get to ship it for free.
Airlines will check wine too, and there's some kind of thing where they
Do they do it for free, or?
But it's only for like their mileage people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing to know, though.
Yeah.
You can check a case of wine.
But even as
The thing is, Alaska really makes an effort.
Up
They
to
have
a
cases
So
for
awesome.
that,
Right.
and I think it's a selling point for Alaska too, because I'll go, what airlines did you fly? Alaska sells free. Oh, we came United. I'm like,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time I'm flying Alaska.
Yeah, you can still check a box though. You pay for it. You can still do it. Right. So bringing it up again, and just finding the way to get it in the conversation. It's a great non-sales sales tactic. Okay, now we're actually asking for the order. What are your go-to phrases? What are those things that work well for you? What would you like to take home with you today? Can I wrap anything up?
Okay, so then when you get into the semantics of what would you like to take home today, I always say, would you like to take anything home today? Is it better, more effective to say what?
Well, what would you like to take home is a little bit, yours is even more closed, would.
Yeah.
I would like to open it and say,
Right.
which of these wines would you like to take home with you? That's very different.
All
I
right.
will listen through the tasting and
Yes.
go, so I know you love the Merlot and the Cab. How many would you like?
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
start pulling bottles out and putting
Right.
them up on the counter.
Just whoop, like soldiers. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Now you like
Soldiers
this
are
one,
up.
and you like this one, and you like this one.
Can I start putting together a case?
Yeah.
Why are we saying, can I wrap a bottle up for you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, I have something to share. I had a winery down south that they were late in the game in launching their wine club. And we launched it, and it was quite successful. It's very, very high-end brand, quite successful. They had about 15 people in their visitor center working. And so we launched this club, and there's only one wine. So it's a 3-bottle, a 6-bottle, and a 12-bottle option. Once a year, one wine. And out of the 15 people, 13 mostly sold a lot of 3-pack clubs, a couple 6s, rarely 12s. And 2 guys, Mo and Steve, almost always sold 12s and a couple 6s. Like just freakishly amount of 12s. And we're going, what? They have the same training, they've got the same incentive compensation program, they've got the same club brochure. What is the secret sauce? What are they doing differently? Anybody have an idea?
They started with a case.
They started with a case. That's exactly it. And so everybody else started with the 3-pack, and they started with the 12-pack. And it was just phenomenal. And so once you learn that, so why do you think we start with the 3-packs?
Because we feel like it's easier.
We feel like it's easier.
Because we have our own budget in mind.
Ding, ding, ding. We're stuck. We have our own budget in mind. We're stuck in the golden rule. We're trying to treat others as we would want to be treated. It's actually the best of intentions. We think we're being kind. We don't want to be pushy, right? We think it's easier. What's really going on, the monkey chatter in our head is, I don't buy over that 3-bottle, so I don't want to force it. That's actually the box in the upper right-hand corner of your page is your personal hurdle. It's your personal budget, and most people are comfortable selling up to it because we're all in golden rule. We're comfortable doing to others as we would want done to ourselves, and we get a little squitchy over it. We get a little, it's a little less comfortable. If we're a 2-bottle or 3-bottle buyer, just go in for that case. But if you actually embrace the platinum rule, it is not about our budget. Our budget has nothing to do with this entire conversation. I'm not saying you should change your budget. Just lock it in the trunk of your car before you come into work in the morning. It doesn't have a place here. You can pick it up at night, it's still there. But it's just, we do this subconsciously. We're limiting ourselves. But the cool thing is, now that I've explained this to you, it actually is a pretty easy habit to break. Just start with the 12 bottle. Why not? And the difference was, Mo would go just, when someone shows an interest in the club, well, let me tell you how it works. The best one is the Case Club, and here's all the cool things that you get. Ding, 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 ding. And there's features and benefits. Of course, if that's too much wine, we do have the 6 bottle, and that explain the differences, and it's just that easy. So maybe there's a nugget in there. Any other go-to phrases?
So I think it depends on everybody has a different business model, but all the years that different things that I've sold, if you don't have a tool in front of you, because customers will just upsell themselves automatically. It's just like you said, once you get in buying psychology, they just go for it. And so what always bothers me if I go somewhere and I'm trying to remember what I wanted, and if nobody is helping me. So what we do is we actually just have these little sheets that have the wines on them. And
Yes.
It's like a packing sheet. And then that person just takes it to the back and loads up the box, and away they go. And so if you have something to show them, so that they can kind of just keep going.
Actually, silent selling tools are a really important part of this in terms of the price sheets, the order forms, however you do it. But there's a couple things. One is even earlier in the cycle, we talked about those nonverbal buying signals. You want to make sure, and please always hand them a pen, everyone. And also, don't give one packet to a couple. Nothing pisses me off more. An individual packet to each person that's there of full information and a pen. And because you want them drawing the smiley faces and the stars and the exclamation points. And you want to notice that, I see you really like that, Merlot. Okay, great. And then also it's a little bit like dropping the price. It gets the psychology going, the suggestion of that there. It absolutely is important.
I agree with you a little bit. It depends on what you perceive them as and what signals they've given you. Some people will come in as a couple and make it pretty clear to you that they make decisions as a couple. I won't give them one each.
I just have it out. And it's like, if they don't use both, that's fine.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because you have no idea how that couple functions. None of us do. And if we think we do, we're just wrong. Right? So it's just having it out. Because also having the silent selling materials, I know we all want to be green. It's okay, most of them won't be used and you can recycle and use them again. But having them out, especially on those busy Saturdays and you're 3 deep in the bar and just trying to survive, you want it in their hands. They're going to make the decision as a couple, but they're going to inform themselves individually. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other go-to phrases? Cool.
The other thing that we do, again, goes visually is, I don't know everybody's packing systems, but if you do have someone who's probably going to be your more 6-bottle buyer, but maybe they've only picked out 3 or 4 bottles, whatever. So our 6-pack bags, if there's 2 empty things, they go, there's 2 empty holes in this bag.
I know, their holes are...
Empty spots in your box.
There's holes. They're kind of lonely. It's kind of sad.
You turn your head like a puppy.
Exactly. There's a hole in my bag. That's great. There's often a hole in my cocktail, but that's a different story. Okay. All righty. I have a clicker somewhere. Yes, I do. So we're going to continue this conversation along the same lines as we get to, we have always ABCs, always be closing, but ABCs always be collecting, the contact data capture. And so I'd like you to continue in your groups of 3 or 4, whatever you were in before, this conversation on contact data capture. So often, when we look at wineries who are struggling with contact data capture, we all know we want second dates, but why isn't it happening? First of all, most wineries are capturing less than 10% of their visitors with contact data capture, or over 60%. It's so weird. It's very binary. And what it tells me is it's not about the customers. It's all about the internal team and the internal culture and have they broken through the barrier or not. Because research shows that if customers have had a rocking good time and you just invite them to stay in touch, most of them will say yes. Doesn't that seem kind of weird? I mean, I don't know. Personally with me, I don't want to be giving out my email all the time. At the grocery store, at the drugstore, whatever. I'm just a little bit sick of this. I'm just pummeled with emails. This is not that. Some of these people are on the vacations of their lives. They've come and sought out your place and your winery. They probably want to have a relationship with the brand. So it's kind of like what we're doing. What I do is we're bringing our own baggage into the equation. We kind of don't want to bug them because we don't want to be bugged, right? And we carry that baggage. It's pretty heavy. And so again, we're stuck in the golden rule. We're trying to treat others as we would want to be treated. We're really really have a lot of anxiety and ickiness around asking them and being intrusive. But the thing is, if we're going to go to Platinum Rule, my baggage, my attitude also needs to get locked in the trunk of the car on the way into work in the morning. I can pick up that bias when I leave. It's fine. It's still going to be there. But this is not that, right? They've had a great time. We're never going to get 100% data capture. That's not, some people won't, and that's fine. But we should absolutely invite people to stay in touch. Why not? And so and then if we've done kind of the seed planting along the way, reasons they would want to, then it makes sense. What are some reasons why someone would want to be on our mailing list? Michaela?
New releases of different vintages.
New releases, different vintages. Great. Kat?
Upcoming events.
Upcoming events. Absolutely. What else?
Informing them, we have live music 3 days a week.
Live music. Events. Offerings, releases, information about the winery, roadshow stuff. You might come out to their market. I mean, this is cool. We are jaded, right? We live and work in the wine industry. It's way more cool to them than it almost is for us, right? And so with this idea saying there's positive ways, reason they want to stay in touch, just to be nice, we should at least invite them. And research shows that if we just get over ourselves and ask, most of them will say yes. That being said, I'd love for you to brainstorm in your groups. What are the, first of all, nonverbal ways that we could capture contact data? What are the systems that you have in place that don't have to do with anybody saying anything? And then what are the ways that, when you're actually inviting someone to stay in touch, what are actually words that work for you?
Could you talk a little more
Sure.
about the nonverbal?
Sure. Some people might have a guest book. They might have a fishbowl. They might have, just systems or processes or whatever. And so you guys can. What do we come up with? What are some of the nonverbal systems that we can use to capture contact data?
Sign-up sheet on the book.
Absolutely. Sign-up sheet, certainly. Or even index cards. It could be a sheet, a guest book, a sheet, or index cards. Yes, McKenna?
At our place we do like a monthly gift certificate. So we have, a little sheet that they fill out. How'd you hear about it? So it gives us more than just like their email. So name, email, how they heard about us, where they're from. And then, at the bottom it is a little checkbox. Would you like to be part of our, sign up? So yes, it's an incentive and they get, I think right now it's like a $30 gift certificate if they come back. So we're drawing them back with that $30 gift certificate, but then also, encouraging them to sign up on our email list.
Absolutely. Great. Any other ideas? Yes.
There's a winery in Willamette Brooks that has their tasting menus. They have so many tables set up and a nice patio and everything. That on their tasting menus, they have a little text this number and receive a free pour, and you have to bring it up to the bar. And so they get every person at that table's data because all of them want a free pour instead of just getting the one person's
Very cool.
order.
That's very creative. What else? Another one, even like, this is old school, have a fishbowl on the counter, toss your business card in. The point about data capture is don't set up one way to do it. If you set up one way to do it, you set up a singular point of failure. Set up multiple ways that you can, whether it's contests or incentives or just asking, asking the system. And then obviously we have what we talked about earlier is the whole email receipt thing at the end. Great. What are ways, verbal ways, that you're actually inviting people to stay in touch? What can and should we be saying? What are ways that you can bring it up in the conversation?
So it goes back to that 100% guarantee. I just always let people know if you change your mind, you can always unsubscribe.
Absolutely. Yeah, easy. We're going to have manners about that. You just click it at the bottom for any reason for sure. Yeah. What else?
Focusing on the benefits for them, letting them know this way you're not going to miss out on our upcoming events.
Stay informed.
You
Be
really
first
like
to know.
You really like that rosé, and it always sells out within weeks if you want to get the heads up for when it's released. You know, so it's playing off of the rest of the conversation. And definitely we have our features and benefits hat on if we did those exercises, but it's understanding, especially as we're getting to know them and what's making them tick. Okay, many of those things trigger follow-up communications back to us. We've got one of our, or actually many of our wine clients also just have this concept of saying, hey, we'd love to, you know, you're buying, which is awesome, thank you. We'd love to open an account for you. So that way, if you ever have a question about what wine you bought or any more information, you know, we can look it up, that type of thing. So often what we'll have is students in our tasting room professional class, and we have a version of the sharing your sales successes. And so we'll talk about, like, oh, I came in, this guy had a gold, or had a black American Express card, and I sold him $15,000 worth of wine, and I was like, did you get his contact data? Oh God, no, I wouldn't want to bother him. It's like, you know what, in my world, that's a fail. I know, it's a nice $15,000, but it's no second dates. And it's not the big picture. And so the thing too, we all have our own baggage, and our team members do as well. Something really helpful to kind of break through that emotional clutter is share the concept of the buyer's continuum with them. So that way they know why. We're doing good with this, not evil, right? We're trying to have a long-term relationship. We're trying to communicate back to them in a relevant way that's going to be meaningful for them. We're not going to spam them and pummel them and drown them with 1,000 what's about our wines. We're going to be relevant, and that can help as well. So hopefully, is this discussion helpful? It was quick. Yes, please.
I just have to share this pearl that I just got from Kate over here.
Awesome.
She says she works personal flattery. You are awesome. You are our kind. Let's stay in touch.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. That is great. Okay. So a wrap for the day, and what we achieved today is we first of all started out talking about we need to sell our brand first, our wine second, and really go from the core, figure out ways to differentiate ourselves, and hopefully you guys have many new ideas about how to get that done. We want to embrace the buyer's continuum. We know that not all of our customers are creative people. They have different relationships with our wines and our winery, and the earlier in the conversation we can figure out what their experience is with us, the more we can tailor the rest of it as we go. If we've gone so far of building rapport and really figuring out what makes them tick and starting to understand their wants and needs and then shifting accordingly, there's such huge power in what we call positive profiling, or being able to actually get beyond the golden rule into the platinum rule. When we figure out what they want and need, what makes them tick is really our #1 job. Building better rapport, we spent a lot of time on that, from open-ended questions and analogies and storytelling and great greetings and all of those tools in the toolkit. None of that, we can't get to know them. We can't do the positive profiling unless we're actually building that rapport. And that's never going to happen if we spend all our wind, all of our air talking about the 1,000 what's about the wines. We're never going to get there. Identifying buying signals, we didn't spend much time on that, but we saw it occur or not occur often on our mystery shops. And that's one of the easiest things to fix. We missed most of them. Go out, drop obvious buying signals, verbally and non-verbally, in your own mystery shops. And if you have that missed, you personally will never miss it again. It's a really quick fix, and I love that. Features and benefits selling, that rhythm can really change kind of your whole, it changes your confidence, actually. Like, we know this, it gets you out of that list mode and into what's in it for the customer, and then they respond back more. It's this kind of self-feeding success cycle. And so please start trying it. And speaking of success, develop awareness of what works for you. Watch that evolve and change over time. Literally, for those of you we talked earlier about, you might want to log if you're trying to build new habits, and writing that down is really awesome, and make sure that you codify and understand how it works. So I am very appreciative of our time together.